So we were just muted. So let's just do that again. That was good practice, right?
Good
Okay.
practice.
Welcome to K.I.S.S Recovery 101. This is Bridge. I'm going to be your host tonight. And Justin, you want to just go ahead and give that intro again?
Yo, 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 what's going on, recovery world? My name's Justin McNeil. I work with Bridge at Minnesota Recovery Connection. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about what I do and some cool recovery pathways. I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm glad that whoever is listening. Hopefully you get something out of this.
Oh, for sure. And actually, we have one specific pathway that I needed you on the show with me today to talk about because I'm not that informed about it. You know, I will just let you do most of the talking to begin with, but the one that we're going to focus on tonight, and we're also going to tap into empathy versus sympathy.
Ooh.
So, yeah, a big part of justice involved recovery was at first I felt like I can't empathize, like I can't to the level that it needs to be. How could I possibly even begin to like feel what they feel or be in those shoes, because I've never been there. But when I play the clip later, we'll talk about how I've learned that I can be there to the capacity that I can. But Justin, you're running that shit at MRC, right? So you want to just talk about what the Justice Involved program is?
Absolutely. As she said, I am running the shit there at MRC. So, a little bit of backstory here. So my name is Justin McNeil, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is that I have not used any of those substances that ruined my life in about 5 years now. And as a result of that, I got my entire life back, rebuilt relationships with friends and family. I have a job. I have a license and a car that I drive legally. What about that? I no longer get involved in the criminal justice system. So this ties in my introduction into the work I do. I'm a person who has 6 felony convictions on my record, but I no longer let that hold me back in my life. I'm able to have a job. I'm able to have housing. I'm able to give back to my community instead of take from it. And this is also important because if I didn't have that, I don't think I would still be in recovery. A big part of it, as we know, whatever your recovery pathway looks like, is giving back to others. So a little bit about what I do at Minnesota Recovery Connection is I am a trainer. I train people how to work with justice-involved populations. I also train Recovery Coach Academy, harm reduction, really anything they ask me to. I also manage 6 peer recovery specialists or recovery coaches. And those peer recovery specialists work in the justice-involved programs. And so what that looks like is we have partnered with probations, prisons, county jails, people going through the court system, and we offer them peer recovery support, whether that's over Zoom or over the phone or over, we have a pen pal a pen pal program with all the prisons. And we just start getting people to think about, what are you going to do when you get out? Because I know for me, I was in jail many times and I often wanted to change so bad. I had this big plan on how I was going to change and turn around my life. And then I got let out and there was no one to meet me where I was at. And I went right back to my environment. And within hours was using, and within a couple of days was committing more crimes. And within a few weeks was back in jail. And sad enough, that is, like 70 or 80% of the people who get incarcerated return because of those factors. And so what we try to do in our programs is engage those individuals. What do you need? What's going to help? What are those things that are bad for you that you should stay away from? We start getting people to think about those. And we can literally, if they needed it, pick them up from jail and bring them to a sober house or bring them somewhere safe or bring them to our office and get them connected to the resources that they need.
And that's wonderful. And so I'm just going to give a little read on the gist of what you can go right on to the website and get more involved. So one of the things that I read on one of the blogs was like, you can come out and right away start volunteering with us.
That's right.
I believe a few of the employees right now there started volunteering. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool.
That's me. I started as a volunteer at MRC. So
I did not know that, Justin.
And if you haven't listened to this podcast, Minnesota Recovery Connection is just a nonprofit recovery-based. It's called a recovery community organization. And we really help bridge the gap in and around when someone needs to go to treatment, help them navigate getting into treatment. But more importantly, what are you going to do when you get out? And you learn some good skills and treatment, get a little bit of recovery time, but the real test is what are you going to do once you no longer have that support? And so that's where MRC steps in and offers trainings, volunteer opportunities, meeting with recovery coaches, a whole host of resources and events. It's pretty cool.
I love that. Bridge the gap.
Yeah, that's all about you.
Filling in the gaps. And so it says too often people are being incarcerated for having a medical condition, substance use disorder. And the prison system was not designed to be a healthcare provider. The system is doing exactly what it's designed to do: lock you up and keep you there until your time is done. You said this.
Did I?
Yes, this is from the blog with you. You're in quotes, Justin McNeil, as MRC's manager of forensic peer recovery support. People's lives can change if they get support and catch a break before they get broken by the system. And I love that. And for me, I struggled so long. I'd go to these treatments, whatever. I'd get out and I'd feel sober. I feel good. Like, okay, I could do this on my own. The problem is I'm going right back to the same circle of people, right back in my same environment. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And if I would have known about something like Minnesota Recovery Connection, where I have a peer who's been through similar or the same shit, and I could just connect with them. It took one person for me in the rooms, one person that I finally started to let those walls down and trust, that I could finally start to really look into myself, and it helped me reflect on myself, so, but trust was a huge factor. And so why don't you talk about, like, at our work, like, with that trust factor, we're literally we're not here. We ask you what you want, what your path is, what's going to work for you. We're not here to be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. We just offer these resources for whatever you're looking for, right?
Absolutely. And so, recovery coaching or peer recovery support is a self-directed empowerment model. I know those are some big words. What that pretty much means is that the person you are working with has choice. And you use that choice to figure out what they need in their life, or you help them figure out what they need for themselves in their life. And you help empower them to start making goals and changing their lives themselves. Because I can sit here all day and tell you what you need and how you should do things, but that is probably going to make you do the exact opposite.
Oh, I did the exact opposite times 10, Justin.
Absolutely. And so that's one of my favorite things is someone comes in and says, my therapist says I need this. My family says I need this. My sponsor tells me I have to do this. And I always just like to ask them, well, what do you want? What do you think you need? Because we rarely ever get asked that. It's a world where we're always looking at what the problem is, and people are telling us what to do, when we should be focusing on what's going good with someone. What is someone's strengths? What are their resiliencies? How can you use that to help them change? And it's super, super powerful way to do things. And a lot of people don't even realize that they have choice. And so you got to let them know that.
Well, okay. Interestingly enough, I took that training, the forensic peer support training with Muhana, with Rocky and you.
Do you want to tell them what forensic peer recovery?
Yes, will you do that? Because I know that you will make it sound smart, and I will not.
So, peer recovery specialist is a recovery coach. A forensic peer recovery specialist is a recovery coach that specifically works with people within the criminal justice system. Ideally, they have a deep understanding of how the criminal justice system works or lived experience as well. And so recovery coaches have experience in recovery. Forensic peers ideally have both. They've been in the justice system and they've also navigated their own recovery. And so when I can sit down with someone who's been to prison or jail a bunch of times and say, hey, I've been there too. I have felonies on my record. I'm also in recovery. They're going to automatically want to connect with me because they're going to be like, this dude gets what's going on.
Well, and I think two words that really help people feel connected is me too. Just hearing that for me opened myself up to feel like I'm not alone. For so long, I didn't think I was like this unique, special person. I thought I was this person that was so effed up. No one will ever understand. No one will get me. And most of the time, the people around me didn't even want to try to understand me. So to have this place that you can go to where everyone that works there is in recovery, right? So like right away, I just feel like, wow, I'm in this place where nobody's judging nobody, like we all get it. And, it was hard to believe for me at first, just working there. I'm like, you probably, I don't know if you recall, but I came to you a couple times like, okay, well, I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I just didn't finish. And I remember being taken aback, and you're like, well, how are you doing? Do you need a self-care day? It's okay to do that. I need you to make sure that you're good on you. I'm like, huh? You care about me and my mental health? Okay. It was like hard to accept that, because so many places I worked for, HR, all that nonsense, they didn't care. Absolutely, they were marking all those records. Oops, she took another day, so yeah, so Muhana-san, we had a great conversation about mental wellness.
Muhana, I'm coming for you next, buddy. But that's so true in this peer recovery specialist role. Even if you're talking about sponsorship as well, you have to make sure that you're in a good place, or how else are you going to be able to help others? Mm-hmm. So if you're going through stuff and life is hard, you got to take a break and reset yourself, because you're not going to be any good for anyone else if you are kind of off kilter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, and that's why I kind of also wanted to talk today about empathy, and also the difference between empathy versus sympathy, because there's some pretty big differences. I'd had so many people that, maybe at one point were trying to sympathize with me, but like, I could just smell BS a mile away. Like, it wasn't that they meant to say the wrong things, but it took one thing you'd say to me and I'm putting that wall up. It was an instant shutdown, because I'm like, the worst thing people would say to me is like, why can't you just do this? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, how can you do that? What about your kids? And these things immediately, I'm just thinking, A, those are really rude assumptions that you have any idea why I might do those things. But B, I think like what Muhana and I had talked about, and what I'm learning about is like, and in the trainings, like, it's not what's wrong with me, what happened. I think that's a big piece. I don't even ask that directly, but just to find out what happened to get to that point. Because for me, I didn't just get to that really dark place on my own. There was a whole multitude of experiences over the years that led to that. But like, sitting back and someone like you just asking me that question would open me up to like help self-reflect. So I could ramble on about that.
I just think it's all about how you interact and talk with people that gets you places in this life and builds your friendships. There's a whole way you can change the way you talk, and you can have meaningful, heartfelt conversations that actually are productive and get someone thinking about what they can do for themselves. And it's definitely not shame-based or coming up with solutions for people. We have to come up with those answers ourselves. And that's what I've always found true to be in my life too. Whether someone's talking with me about it or I'm thinking about things, I'm the one that has to come up with the answer ultimately. People can give me advice and tell me their points of view on it, but ultimately I'm going to need to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Guidance, I know for me, if anyone told me anything, I wanted to do the opposite. Just instinctively, right away, I just want to do the opposite times 10. That's the way my brain just works. But where I sit today is I could say, why do I want to do that? Why does my mind want to go there? And I really pick at myself, and I really reflect on myself as, because for me, fight or flight mode was constant. It was constantly, I want to fight you, or you're never going to see me again. Like, I'm not going to waste my time with you.
We can fight right now.
Or just disappear online.
But, kind of circling back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this, that's why I'm so passionate about the work with the justice-involved populations. Like I said, it's my own lived experience and often seeing where the system failed. But like I said in this little blurb that she read in the beginning, is that correction system is designed exactly to do what it's supposed to do, lock people up and house them there. And what we can do is try to find ways to navigate around that. And with 90% of the population in the country incarcerated, meeting the criteria for substance use disorder, you'd think that they need some help. And we've just seen, I know Bridge has done a couple letters just through our pen pal letters, and we do Zoom recovery coaching for people who are in county jails. how appreciative and how excited they are just to have someone willing to interact with them, to talk to them about recovery. I was blown away. I mean, even myself have gotten some of the most heartfelt letters, and all I'm doing is talking to these people. Some of these people maybe still have years left on their sentence, so I haven't really connected them to resources in the community because they won't be released for a while. But they just send you cards and they'll send you these long letters just talking about how great it is that you're just there holding space for them. And I think that's just the most important thing. Most of the time, people just need to be listened to. They don't need an answer. They just need to vomit their crap on you, and you just accept it willingly.
Well, that is the biggest piece. Is like, what, you actually care enough? You just want to listen? Like, that was hard for me to accept, like that someone really cared enough to just really want to hear what was going on, so.
Well, and I think that correction system is really shame-based. I mean, once you get to prison, they give you a number, for Christ's sake, like that's what you're identified as. And people treat them like dirt, and they don't think that they deserve a second chance, but everybody deserves a second chance, third chance. I mean, if you went online and looked me up right now and you saw my record before you met me, you would pass great judgment. You'd say this guy is a thief and a drug addict and a burglar. But then if you met me in person, you wouldn't even you wouldn't even recognize that, and that's how so many of these people are. They're just looking for that chance and someone willing to be there for them.
Absolutely. And advocate for them. And like, that's why I do this podcast. I want to give a voice. I say this all the time, but so much of my darkness that I kept inside, it wasn't until I talked about it, that I brought it to light, that it didn't stay inside me and keep me sick. Secrets keep us sick. I hear that a lot. And Brene Brown, who I love, we're going to play a clip for very soon. She said, you take a petri dish and you put secrets, judgments, and lies in that petri dish. That grows shame. And she said, the antidote to that shame is empathy. And I love that. And that's what those rooms in the beginning gave me, finding those, like, they're not all great meetings or whatever, but finding the ones where you connect at least with one person and you can openly release some of those skeletons that I thought, I was punishing myself over and over again. I felt that I did not even deserve forgiveness. I think that's where I struggled with depression for so long, severe depression. But to finally reveal these awful things that I had been punishing myself over to a woman, and to see her just look at me and no like response and negative or whatever. She just still looked at me like she still loved me, like she still cared. Like,
that's it, that's all.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, done that. But for me to see that and to still be accepted. Oh, there's our first alarm. That was what I needed to be like, to get to that point where I could finally forgive myself. That was the key for me, to be able to forgive myself so I could move on. Like, how can I expect anyone to like think I'm a good person if I don't think I'm a good person? If I hate myself, like, how can I expect anybody else to like me, So it sounds weird to still say that out loud. Like, I hated myself, I didn't like myself. And now it's even weird to say, I like myself, Justin. I like hanging out with myself, Justin. I love myself, Justin. So I look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, I'm a good person today.
Isn't that weird?
It's weird.
Some weird stuff.
But it's a good weird, right? Okay, so that was our first alarm. So interactions. Okay, so Muhana is on. Hi, Muhana. Just long time no here. Let's see. Muhana says wellness, mental wellness is a big issue. And just listening is all they often want. Just listening. Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And being able to not just show sympathy, because sympathy, I won't talk about the clip, but the clip sums it up really perfectly. And we actually, this is a clip from our training.
Yeah, from our recovery coach, Cami. It's real good stuff.
But empathy is something that we are actually born with. And I sent you a link. I bet you didn't watch it, did you? Okay, well, there was another podcast that I found, but I get to talk about the highlights. I wrote them down, Justin.
All right.
To take it to another level from this clip. Okay, so get ready. This is a very verbal speaker. And
power on.
When this clip plays, our mics will be on, so make no noise. You're allowed to breathe, but that's about it.
I'm gonna beatbox over the video.
Don't do that. Okay, but it's 2 minutes and I got it ready to go. So here we go. So it's Brene Brown explains, the difference between empathy and sympathy. Okay. All right. You ready? Okay, here we go. Hopefully. Oh, okay. Never mind. It wants me to unlock my phone first. Here we go. Brene Brown on empathy.
So what is empathy and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Boom.
The opposite to addiction is what, Justin?
Connection.
Connection.
So we say at MRC. So it just really comes down to holding space for others and not passing judgment and not dismissing what they're going through. I also have a part-time job in an emergency adult shelter for people who are experiencing homelessness, and I have to do this all the time. People get in really heightened states, maybe really struggling with mental health, and I just got to hear them out, because whatever they're going through is real to them, and I can't be one to pass judgment or force solutions on them. One thing, I go to watch this video, and every time I have to go back to it, because I often will catch myself even years into doing this recovery work at leasting people. Someone will say something, well, at least it's not like this. And that's just not how you can relate to people. I don't have to reword it when I feel it coming out of my mouth, because that's so true. We try to downplay things or make them sound not as bad. And I really like what she says in there. If you have no idea how to respond when someone says something really tough they're going through, or you just don't understand, it's just, I don't even know what to say. I'm just so glad you told me. It's such a powerful tool when working with others.
Well, and that was hard for me. So that training, I'm a fixer. I want to fix everything. I want to save everybody, and I want to get all the answers for them. But like you just said, and I just have to remember where I was. I don't want your answers. I don't want you to fix shit. I want to figure this out on my own terms, And so it's great to just really just take a few minutes and just listen. And then also on the other side in the training, now I only speak in ors, right? What are ors, Justin?
Open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. Gets you a long way in this world with your family, friends, kids, people you work with. You name it, you can use it on them.
I use it all the time, and it's great. I mean, it opened up just in my home with my kiddos, my teenagers, right? They didn't want to talk to mom. Mom's not cool anymore, right? But I hit them with the oars all the time, and I did not realize how much that has opened them up. I mean, they talk about things that I might not understand in the gaming world and all that, but I just keep hitting them with the open-ended questions. Well, tell me more about that. What does that character do? Well, what does that mean? You know, no more how was your day thing. Now they actually sit down in the kitchen. They'll talk to me for a long time. It's wonderful. So, but on another note, did you have anything else you wanted to say on that?
No, you just keep going with the flow.
Okay, I'm going to hit you with, so there's this great podcast. If you look at TED Talk, actually, it's not a podcast, it's TED Talks. It's Paul Parkin, and it's on re-imaging empathy. And he said, empathy is something that we are born with. So I don't know. Probably didn't spell this right, but how it sounded was, he said, we have these micro neurons. This is just discovered in the last 20 years. We have these micro neurons programmed in us. Okay. And so they program us in our brain to vicariously care about other people's experiences around us. I mean, if you don't have those, you might be a sociopath. Okay. There's something about that. But, if you just hear something, for example, he was talking about this lemonade stand, and he, whatever, he always hits the lemonade stand. And he asked the little girl, well, what's the money going to? And she was like, well, my friend's dad lost his job, and we're trying to get money so that he won't lose his house. Immediately, he's like, okay, give me 5 more cups. That's nasty ass lemonade. But it's like, you're inside, you are wired to have that empathy. But what he goes on to talk about is, so for me, being lost in addiction, I started to cut that out. And that created a disconnect to not want to empathize from anybody or any reason.
Well, it snuffs that right out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, numbs a lot of things out. But what I really love that he talks about is not only having empathy for other people, but having empathy for ourselves. That was huge what he talked about.
Man, that's something I need to do more often. I think we often forget that, I think it takes a lot of practice in recovery not to beat ourselves up over everything. Because I used to do that a lot in my youth, and I've come a long way, but it's hard to be empathetic to yourself and very easy for me to be empathetic to others.
Oh, yes. I get labeled a perfectionist all the time. I hate it. Shush. I hate it. It's not that I'm trying to do that. I like quality over quantity, and everything I do, whatever the task is, I want it to be my best. And sometimes I go way overboard. I realize that. It's not that I'm trying to be perfect, but I want it to be to my standards. And yes, my standards are a little up there a lot of times. So like you just said, that is a piece that he was saying, that if you practice showing empathy for others, it helps lower that standard for myself that I keep holding myself to, and be empathetic towards myself. So he said, what we do, I can't even read my own writing. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting. Okay. We do not learn from experience. Okay. So I can say I've had 17 years that I was out struggling. Okay. Recurrences and reuses. Okay. I could get an 18-month medallion, boom, right back at it. Like as soon as I was done popping the kid out and breastfeeding, all that, I was right back in my use. Okay. But for me, it was like, it's like hard to describe. I didn't want to necessarily go back, but it is a disease. Like, when I let myself have those thoughts, they became more than thoughts. When I let them ruminate, I didn't talk about them. I let them go into plan mode. Well, what if I just did it on the weekends? What if I just do every other weekend the kids are gone? But that disease part of my brain, that path in my brain, and it's progressive. Like every time I would go back out, it was worse. And so I like that he says, though, so all those experiences, I came in this recovery world, and now I'll have 2 years. So 19 years total, if you like math. Woo woo. But 17 years of experience, yes, that experiences were great. But what he says in this wonderful TED Talk is that you don't learn from experiences, you learn from reflecting on those experiences. And in these last 2 years, like, people don't even recognize me because I took those experiences and I reflect on everything on a daily basis. I want to learn and grow and understand myself, which I feel in turn helps me understand others and be hugely empathetic towards others. I mean, sometimes I'm overly empathetic, I think, but I love that he said that, because you could have all this experience. I went through those trainings and I could pick out in the room who has all these experiences, but what are they doing with it, right?
Mhm.
And I can see who did something with that training, who is actively doing stuff now. I'm friends with a lot of them. I see them doing those things. And then some people, for whatever reasons, just went back to their ordinary jobs and didn't really go anywhere with it because they're not using, I mean, that's a judgment, I guess, but they're not using,
Judging them.
they're not trying to, they're not reflecting on that. And for me, especially, that training was a lot. That was so much good information. I'm still processing, and I just break it up in little pieces as needed. But
You could go through it a dozen times and still learn.
yes.
But I think it was Steve Jobs who said it, kind of touching on what you were talking about. I love this quote. He says, "You never see it looking forwards, only looking backwards, how your life gets laid out." And he goes into talking about things he did with Apple and all this stuff. But I often think about that with my life. I had to go through 15 years of just a super painful addiction that just decimated my life to get to do the work that I'm doing now.
Mhm.
And now I'm living out my life's mission and purpose.
Mhm.
And I would have never discovered that had I not gone through all that crap.
Mhm.
And even the hard stuff that we have to go through in recovery, because we know you don't just get in recovery and it's all sunshine,
Rainbows,
and
yeah, right.
unicorns, and you cupcakes, you name it. You go through tough stuff, but we get to go through that and we get to move forward. And I often do that too. I just look backwards, and it's incredible how almost things happen for a reason, and it just all clicks and it all happens.
Falls into
Divine
place.
timing, if you will.
That divine thread. You ready for the hot seat, Justin?
Is it hot seat time?
Yes, it is. Let's see. It's about that time. Oh, the alarm went off a while ago. I just kept letting this conversation go. It's
Okay.
such a great conversation. Okay.
Hot seat, boys and girls, and
Hot
whoever else out there.
seat. So 3 hot and heavy questions. I encourage you to answer these questions whatever you feel comfortable. I will not kick you off the show if you don't answer the questions. But what I want you to keep in mind is the thought process is these are questions. They might be hot and heavy, it may be tough, but there's other people out there that might be asking themselves these questions and they need answers. And maybe your answer, they might be like, oh, yeah. I get that. That's me too.
I could be their guru.
Or, it could just be whatever works for you. Yes, it's a guru. Okay, question number 1. You ready? What was one thing a person has or could say that gives you a hot button defense reaction? So what's one thing a person could say to you that immediately, well, for me, I call it that fight or flight mode. I get fired up about it. It's a hot button, red button question. Something they say or ask you that you're like, I better pause before I respond. Is there anything like that?
I think when I'm working and someone asks me, do you even know what you're doing? That'll get me going because I work really hard at what I do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens at the shelter too, when people are really in a heightened state and they question your work or your work ethic or whatever it is. And I don't know, something about that. I'm like, I worked too hard to get here. Just trigger something in me and I gotta pause and think about it. Or if someone says something really it happens when someone's in a heightened state, whether you're working on with recovery or wherever, and they say something against your character or just say something really disrespectful to you and they're just in a bad place. And it's hard not to fire back with something disrespectful.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes, that takes lots of practice. For sure.
And I've learned how to do it the right way by doing it all the wrong ways first. So I have raised my voice. I have gotten reactive. I have said things I shouldn't have said. But now I've learned to just pause. And in our world, they call it dodging softballs. When someone says something that's directed to get a a hot response out of you, you just bat that thing away like it's nothing, and you change subjects or whatever it is.
Yes, and 9 times out of 10, I find that when someone's coming at me, right, they're saying these words that are directed at me, my mind immediately thinks, ooh, what's going on with them?
Yes.
What is this really about? I mean, recently somebody just came at me with some stuffs, and right away, because I was feeling so like I was in fight mode, I literally had to put my hand up and say, hey, I know they wanted a response. I could feel they were standing there waiting for a response. I said, hey, I need a minute. I'm on defense mode right now. I need a minute. You're right. I just said, you're right. Whatever you want, I need, whatever it takes for you to get out of my face right now. You're right. I see what you're saying, but I need a minute. I'm on defense mode. And I literally had to take a drive. And I literally had to let myself cool down and process things. Because of course I felt defensive. Of course I didn't think I was wrong or whatever. And one thing that my therapist in DBT taught me, and it was very beneficial. Like I sit here today and I can co-parent very well because my ex-husband, that was a red button. Anything out of his fucking mouth would, sorry, didn't mean to cuss. See, it gets me heated. But what she taught me, what stuck in my brain when she said, Bridge, you know you're right. I know you're right, right? We both know you're right. But is it better to be right? Or is it better to be effective?
There you go.
Yeah. So that hit me because she's like, when you're going off explaining why you're right, look at him. Is he listening to you? Do you think he's understanding what you're right? No, he's on defense mode too. He ain't listening to nothing you're saying. He is not hearing you. So take a moment and wait for that time when you will be effective. So many times he will say something. Still to this day, he'll say something that's silly to me. I don't respond usually at all. And I wait till there's a good opportunity that I can slide in my rightness. I don't think he listens to the show, so he won't figure out my method.
And sometimes silence is the most powerful tool.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
Space.
Sometimes, there's a great meme or there's a great thing that said it's more powerful to be silent. Ghosting some folks that need to be ghosted. What is that? Respect the dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Question number 2. That was a great answer. Justin, ready? Question number 2. Name the biggest consequence or hardest consequence you've experienced due to your previous substance use. What comes to mind? And there's no rush.
So a big reason I got into recovery is my mother was dying of dementia, and they visited me while I was in jail, and that's when I was like, okay, I got to change. And I got to spend the last 18 months of her life with her all the time, being present, a good son, showed up, did everything I did. But one of the biggest regrets, I think, would be missing the previous 4 or 5 years because I was using.
Yeah.
I just wasn't there. I was just a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Doing my own thing, wrapped up in my addictions. I think that would be. But luckily, being able to spend that time with her made it so I didn't have any regrets when she passed away.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Still, you still wonder those what ifs.
Oh, yeah. The bargaining. You missed. Yeah, I told him to listen to some of the shows. He did not, but our last one was really great. We talked about grief recovery. And bargaining is one of those things. And in the book, it's so wonderful because it talks about changing that guilt word. Those what ifs, I could have did this or I could have said that, but changing that guilt word into grief, because grief is healthy to feel. That's a healthy emotion. But for me, the guilt was killing me. It was literally killing me because I couldn't forgive myself. I couldn't forgive other people. I just felt so guilty because I allowed these things to happen to me. I allowed my children to be taken away. I allowed whatever for them to see, so, but in that book, it helped me to realize it's okay to feel grief, feel that emotion, feel those feelings, but let it go, leave it there. So anyway, okay. That's huge. I want to
super huge.
Yeah, I'm so glad and that's the best piece of recovery that I get is I get to show up for people now, clear-minded, clear-headed, and I get to be there where before I might not even be able to walk out the door. I couldn't drive. A lot of times people would be reaching out. I wasn't useful, So yeah, I'm glad that you got that time with her.
I am too.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore. You made me emotional. Okay, question number 3. What's your biggest challenge in life presently? What would you say is your biggest challenge?
I think that I often don't appreciate the moments I am in. I think that's my biggest challenge that I've had to work on my whole recovery. Thinking about things in the past, letting those go, but like always thinking about the future is just trying to be here in this moment and enjoy it, because I have so much going on. My mind is going 100 different places. I have to do a lot of practice, like meditation and exercise and all sorts of other things to just be present. Because it's just this learned behavior of not being in the moment. And so I always got to try to bring myself back.
I got a great word for you. Mindful.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So again, I harp about DBT, but that was a big struggle. I couldn't just be in the moment, and I have ADHD, so that's a factor too. But on those moments where my mind is just so stimulated, we just went to that can place. I didn't have to say or do anything. That place was just, I just looked around. Yep. It was wonderful. I took 1 billion pictures, which I still haven't posted because like there's too many, and I just, there goes the perfectionist thing. Like I don't want to post shitty pictures. Yeah. But for me, it taught me, like, at first they were boring. Like, I was a very rebellious person in that program. So it's normally a 14-month program. It took me 18 months to not master the skills, but feel like graduate enough that I do utilize these skills. But just like in this moment right now, feeling this table, and feeling the texture of the table, because if my mind's going into, I gotta go to work tomorrow, I gotta make sure that I have my outfit picked out, and I gotta make sure that I call these people, boom, what is that doing? My therapist would say, Bridge, where you're sitting right now, can you do those things for tomorrow? No. Okay, so stop worrying about tomorrow, right? Sit in here today, enjoy this moment that you're in, and especially with my children, I have 5. My mind is going off. My kids just wanted me. And I would vent to her because I'm like, I'm broke. I broke all the time. And she's like, why, Bridge, why do you keep buying your kids all these presents? And it later came out, well, I felt bad. I felt like I needed to buy them these things to make up for the time that they were taken away from me. And when she explained it to me that, Bridge, they just want you. They want their time with you. I realized how important I need to be in the moment and appreciate the moment. And so, yeah, meditating helps. There's this cool technique. It's like mom, num, sum, tum that I do with my fingers when I can't focus. Tapping. If I sit in a work meeting, you'll see me doing that. I'm like, be in this moment.
I'm always just breathing weird in my office. Deep breaths.
Yeah. Well, yes. Because your brain needs oxygen.
I do this weird thing
process
when I'm
correctly.
Thinking, I hold my breath, and if people are around me, they're like, "What is going on?" I don't even know I'm doing it. All of a sudden, I'll just like start panting for air because I've been holding my breath for a minute.
Oh my goodness. Okay. How's your ass? Is your ass on fire? My favorite new question.
Easy peasy. That was scratching the surface of the stuff.
Okay. Well, that's good, and hopefully, maybe you feel a reprieve later. Okay. How are we on time? Oh, 8:45. What happened to my second alarm? It didn't go off. Okay. Well, this is wonderful. I'm going to tell on you, Justin. I have to say, I love this. Justin's not on Facebook.
That's right. You ain't going to find me. I'm like a ghost.
I like to leave a pause after I say that, because it's great. And I think it's really wonderful, but everybody's on Facebook. Justin, what are you doing? You don't have to have Facebook. You can just have Messenger.
Yeah, I know. Just still.
But it's wise.
Thing, yeah.
There's a whole crazy word, but there's a good thing that I utilize is like keep my Facebook private. So nobody my friend unless I say they're my friend. And I always joke when I add new friends. I'm like, okay, now we're really friends. It's official on Facebook. But anyway. So you're going to love this. I think I'm going to love the segment more than you. So it's called Live Facebook Memes. And what I'm going to do is I want to flash you some memes that I've taken screenshots
We'll see
of
if I find them
at night in my bed. I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. I don't remember half of them. So I usually like to just flash them to you. And so like Facebook, you don't know this, but on Facebook, you get to like pick an emoji, like a thumbs up. You like it. There's the heart, like you love it. Now there's a new one, a care. It's the emoji hugging a heart. Did you care? There's a laugh out loud one. There's an angry one. Okay. Those are the, whatever responses. And then if you'd like to, you can also comment. Okay. On these ones. Now, these are ones that for whatever reason in that moment, some of them are a week old now. Just I don't know where my mind was at. But they stood out to me for whatever reason. And I wouldn't, your response live in person. This is great. Because at home in my bed alone, I'm laughing my ass off. I wish someone was next to me. I could be like, isn't this funny? No one's there.
And it's you laughing at yourself.
Pretty much. And I've had people openly say, Bridge, stop sending me shit at 2:00 in the morning. So now I just don't do it at all. But I used to do that, especially on the weekends. I'm trying to sleep. Stop bothering me. Okay. Let's just start with a funny one. Okay. So you first describe the picture before you read the word.
Okay.
This is a good one. I like this one. So there's two pictures in a side by side. Come to the mic, Justin.
So it has a guy dressing up as Ronald McDonald and then putting on the Ronald McDonald wig. And it says, me getting ready to send the third text. I don't even understand that. So I think that would just be a confused emoji, or I would be like, what, with a question mark?
He's putting on the crazy. He put on the crazy suit.
Okay.
He's about to send paragraphs, Justin.
That's an LOL. I've definitely been there.
Okay. Were we just talking about previous toxic people in your life?
Yes,
so
we were talking about
are you going to send that third text? That's what you're going to look like.
Definitely would send
That's what you're going to look like. What is that?
Some crazy shit.
That's a clown.
Yeah, it's a clown. I get it now. I get it. See, you hadn't even explained it to me. I was so confused.
I wish... Well, I do take screenshots. Maybe I'll just start text messaging you the best ones.
Yes.
So you can at least get used to this wonderful world of memes. Okay. Okay, I don't remember, but describe the picture.
Okay, we got a doctor checking someone's blood pressure, and it says, Doctor, what are you using for birth control? And it's just me, just who I am as a person. That's a good one.
Whoops, TMI!
Yeah, that's good. I like that one. That's a like and an LOL.
Okay. Any comment response?
Nope, I just like it.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious.
It is great. Okay. So we had some funny ones. Let's do a more serious one. This is a good one.
It says, never measure your progress using someone else's ruler. And I completely, I like that one a lot. I love inspirational quotes. And I think that is so important, that you, cannot compare your page 1 to someone's chapter 10. There's another one like that or whatever, because we all progress at our own rate. I also saw a really cool one too that was 1 times 0 is 0. But then if you do 1 times 0.01, just a tiny bit of effort each day, it's 300 some whatever. It's a big number. So it's just pretty much saying you could choose not to do anything each day or make one tiny adjustment each day, and all of a sudden it builds and boom.
I love that. And Matt was on here and he said the thief there's an alarm. See, we got 10 minutes. But we're okay. He said comparison is the thief of joy. Yes. Boom.
Just like that.
And I'm so busy and I'm just so worried about myself and filling my cup that I don't look around the room. I don't even care who's in the room. I'm not comparing myself to nobody. I'm running my own game.
I do that.
But that took me years,
I care less what other people think about me.
Right. Or what they're doing. And why do you care about me and what I'm doing? I don't get that. Watch your old bobber. That's the old timer saying, but I love it. Watch your own bobber. Okay. This is a funny one.
Okay, so we got Patrick and then a blurry picture of some people with some little tiki lights. And you saw me and didn't even say hi. Explain it to me. I'm very confused. You're picking some weird ones.
Okay. So to the left is a picture of Patrick Starfish from SpongeBob squinting. He's squinting. And to the right is a blurry picture.
Okay.
Because he can't see. So he said, the person to Patrick said, you saw me and you didn't even say hi. Do you wear glasses, Justin?
No.
That's why it's not funny to you.
Not funny. Okay. I don't even understand
It's funny to me. I have so many people that are like, how come you didn't say hi to me? I was waving to you. I'm like, I can't see. It's 50 feet. I'm in denial about it. I will wear my glasses driving at night. But other than that, I don't see anybody. at all. And especially when I walk by like groups or meetings where I don't look up and look at it because I can't see them anyway.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, especially in public, I'm waving to people that I think I know, but I don't really know if I know them. I look like a crazy person. But sometimes I get a wave back, and sometimes like, oh shit, that is not who I thought it was. And they just, okay, crazy happy person, wave back. So yeah, but you don't understand because you don't have to wear glasses.
I'm failing at your memes.
Okay, no, it's not you. It's me, Justin. You ready? Okay, this is a funny one.
So we got a cat with a bag of chips and a Pepsi bottle watching a scene from Titanic. And it says, me watching a romantic movie but no longer believing in love. And it's Jack and what's her name at the edge of the boat on Titanic, and the cat is saying, push her. Yes. Cold dead heart. I like that one. That's what my comment would be.
That's right now. Yeah. Snacks, eating my snacks. Yeah, and I don't even bother watching romantic. I'm not watching no romance shit. It's a joke. Okay. Let's do another aha one, okay? Oh, that's a funny one. Read it.
Note to empaths, care, not carry, which is super important in our work. We have to care. We cannot carry that with us. It will literally kill you.
Yes. Leave it at the door. Mm-hmm. Easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, empath, or if you have that huge capacity to empathize. Here's another aha one.
It's okay that you don't know how to move on. Start with something easier, like not going back. And that is huge. Sometimes the issue at hand.
I think that one was meant for you, Justin.
It was. Sometimes the issue at hand can just seem so insurmountable. But as long as you're not moving backwards and you're staying right where you are, maybe it's just a little baby step or crawl at a time. When I first got into recovery, I started getting really big into fitness, and I would run a lot. And I'd say that in my head when I was running, because it was a progress from like walking to running to walking to running.
Yeah.
I just say 1 inch, 1 step, 1 day, 1 time. You just keep moving forward.
Yes. Absolutely. And for me, when I just made this choice, like, I'm just going to do this thing, I was not happy about it, Justin. I was fucking angry. You wouldn't recognize me over 2 years ago. I was not a happy person. I was angry about everything, but I pushed myself. And it was day by day, 24 hours, day by day. And sometimes it was moment to moment I struggled, but knowing that I'm not going back was key, was a big piece for me. But I wish I don't want anyone to ever be. I wish you would people that knew me 8 years ago don't recognize me. Like, oh, hi, blah, blah. I'm like, well, Keith, I knew you 8 years ago. Hi, this is not like we're just meeting, but I have to remember that I was that quiet, dark person in the corner hiding, so a lot of people didn't know who I was. Okay, well, let's do another funny one. Oh, this one, I know why I picked this one. Okay. Describe the picture.
Me leaving my last relationship, and as a guy crawling out of the dumpster.
Dumpster.
I can relate to that. That would be my comment.
The garbage can.
A like emoji.
Okay. It's probably best not to comment. I never name names. Just know it's a safe place here. Don't name names. Oh, I love Kermit. Any memes or GIFs with Kermit is my jam.
Yeah.
Okay.
When someone gets loud with their attitude and you have to see who the fuck they talking to, and then it's Kermit looking in either direction. Yes, I have been there.
He's looking like there's something behind him.
Like, what the hell?
Like, who are you talking to like that?
That's awesome.
We'll leave it that one where it's at. Okay. I love how you spelled out the TF, by the way. It says TF. And
I said that.
You said it out loud and proud. Okay. Here's a good one. Aha.
A wise man said, don't seek revenge. The rotten fruits will fall by themselves. And that is so true. People that are toxic and bad and treat people crappy have stuff coming for them. Just let them be.
One more aha one. One thing that comes to mind, and this is kind of what I do on my show, just go off on tangents sometimes. But one thing that I really like, okay, let me just think. The rotten fruits will fall by themselves. So it's not that they're rotten. I think the biggest, so I sponsor a lot. And I used to struggle with that because I felt like I was failing because I wasn't saving them. I wanted them to pull them over, be like, here, this is the side of recovery. That's wonderful. But, for me, it took 17 years to cross over. And another wonderful woman named Kim, she spoke and she talked about, so a lifeguard, a friend of hers said, Kim, he said, your sponsees right now, you want to help them. You see them drowning. But what do people do when they're drowning? They're flailing their arms around, right? They're trying to stay above water. What's going to happen if you go in now and try to save them? They're going to pull you down and drown you with them, right? So for me, that's describing trying to sponsor, but crossing the line and trying to go in there with them. You're both going to drown. And she said, but what he said is, you wait. You wait for that opportunity when I get emotional. I got emotional when she spoke. You wait for that moment when they give up and they surrender and they stop flailing around. And as a lifeguard, you take their hand and you pull them out at that right moment.
I like that.
And I got goosebumps. See that? Goosebumps. Uh-huh. It's so hard ever on that other side because you just see them flailing and you just see them struggling and you just see them gasping for air, because that was me for so long. And to see that, and it's so hard for me to set those boundaries sometimes because I want to go in and save them, but it's not the right time. No. And I've had to learn over and over and over to wait. And, I will pick up that phone. I will answer that text, but I have to figure out where to draw that line. I did make those mistakes. I would go to their house. I would get in conversations with their boyfriends or try to let them stay. I was doing all those crazy things. And someone said, Bridge, your family comes first, right? Mm-hmm. Your safe place has to be solid and safe. You can't bring that chaos to you. So yeah, that what she spoke about, like, locked it in for me. And now, even though
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, even though my heart feels it and I want to do it, I know that I'm not going to save them at this moment. It's got to be when they're ready to make that choice. That's that opportunity. And that's what I love about MRC is we get to be there when they make that. It's not going to be right away. For me, it took 70 years. It could be however long, but we're ready. We're ready there. We're watching. We're here to help when you're ready.
Waiting for you to be ready.
That moment. And that is fantastic.
It's awesome.
So
that's what the work's all about.
Yes. Okay. Wow. We are so punctual tonight. Okay, wait.
On time.
Yes. Effective rather than affective. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And let's see. Muhammad said, or even doing that to ourselves. Having empathy for ourselves is important rather than sympathy. 100%. And
Muhammad, I get stuck in that a lot. I remind myself to be more empathetic to myself.
Yes, filling our own cup. And like next week, I think I'm going to play this wonderful clip. So Oprah gave this, I think it must have been at a college, but a motivational speech. And so many things, I have to pick it apart because there was so many wonderful things she said. But she locked it in for me about the self-care thing. Because I get annoyed with it when people are like, you need more self-care. I'm like, don't tell me what I need. Okay, I really need a little bit more self-care. Bubble bath, whatever. That's my go-to. But I need more than that. I need a little vacation to myself. And I come back feeling so refreshed. And I'm like, I need to do this more. But what she said was, so there's this thing, that whole comparison thing, right? So when I started to really have this awakening and this positive energy, I found that the people that were in the dark cloud with me were like, who the fuck does she think she is? She really getting full of herself. Like, they were hating on me. And I didn't know how to, what Oprah makes it sound really great. So she lays it out. Like, now Oprah says when she hears someone say she's full of herself, it's a compliment, because what that means to her is you have your cup, right? And when your cup is full, you're good to go. When your cup, for me, is overflowing, you can be out there giving all that energy, giving all those things to all those other people. But when your cup's empty, you gotta stop. And then you get resentful when people they want some of what's in your cup. You got nothing to give no more, right?
So true.
So to be full of myself, she said she embraces that, because that means I am this full energy, happy person in a sense. But I, in turn, spread it. I want to spread that. And I've heard, on the positive, and I've heard people say, well, you're just such this positive energy that people want. You give them, so many people come in the rooms and they're not in a good place. It's a negative thing. You go to a meeting, you just like, I don't know how I feel about that. Well, I walk in and like I said, sometimes I want to punch myself in the face. I do say that because I'm a little too happy sometimes. But it's that one person that said, hey, I want what she has.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for just being you. That's one person out of whatever 20 people that don't say that. I don't care what those 20 people say. That one person that said I was a positive light in some shape or form makes the world of difference. And so for me, yep, I'm full of myself, but I'm okay with that. And if you're not okay with that, you have other meetings you could go to, right?
F off.
Right. So hate's gonna hate.
Mm-hmm. They always will. They always will.
So we'll end it with a last quote. Do you have any final thoughts, Justin?
No, just want to say thank you for having me on tonight. And if anyone wants to get connected with me, hit up Minnesota Recovery Connection, 612-584-4158. Ask for Justin, and we can talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about.
Hells yeah, MinnesotaRecovery.org.
Yes.
If you're just one of those websites, folks, that don't want to pick up a phone. I don't like that. And I did lock you in, so Mohana says you're coming on a show.
That's right.
I promised him for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last quote. I'll just let you read it. Final quote. Read it. Get into the bike, Justin.
The things you are passionate about are not random. They are your calling. And this is just what I was speaking on earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find your purpose and follow that like your life depends on it, because it does.
Mm-hmm. Huge. And that's his mic drop. Like, I sound cheesy when I say this, but MRC is my dream job, Justin. I was not expecting it to come. And it really was it just fell into place for whatever universe or the source or the higher powers reason. I literally remembered my first day there, and every day is literally like this. It sounds goofy, I know, but I'm like, oh man, it's already 3 o'clock. Oh man, it's already 4 o'clock. Why? The time goes by. And my old job working for the government, I was like, oh shit, it ain't lunchtime yet. Like, oh, I got a half hour before I have to do these reports. Like, the day would drag on. And I literally go to MRC. My days just flies by.
That's good.
Well, and it's good that I have responsibilities at home, because I probably would be one of those people that would just stay there a whole lot more than I need to, just because it's like there's so many resources and there's so many opportunities, and I get to do these things that mean so much to my soul. It feeds my soul. So it's not a job. What's that quote? If you find a job that you love, you never work a day in your life.
There you go.
Oh, I ended it with my own that I stole. Okay. Well, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Justin. I know you are super busy, so I very much appreciate you coming here today.
Absolutely. I love making time for people, recovery people.
We people, here, folks. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Bye now.
And enjoy the rest of your week. Let's end this broadcast.